Because what one does when one gets something that demands extremes is go, oh, what's as far as I can go? That's brave, and I encourage you to play with that. And yet, a much more sustainable and honest way to exaggerate is to take something that you know is true of you and exaggerate that, rather than just what's extreme, what's exaggerated. Right? Now, what I want to remind you is, earlier on I was saying, what bugs me sometimes is that people don't take this and make it practical in their lives. Oh, it was fun, it was interesting, my phrases were great, people laugh, you know. And I hope you have all those kind of fun responses, and I hope they're a little life-altering, you know. But practically, you've got this stuff printed. This is why I asked you to print it, put it in your damn book. Because not only does an intriguing list give you a lot of versions of one of your neighborhoods, but if you're looking for extreme performance, it's going to go through, and some of those synonyms are going to be extreme. And when you play with them in rehearsal, and you really say, if I held this entire reading of this one time through, to mild as milk, what am I when I am as mild as milk, when I'm so compassionate? You know, and then you think, well, I'm not really that way, are we all? But I do remember this one time. You know, I found this stray cat, and I was just like such a sap. I couldn't believe what. You know, we've all, if you own compassionate, at some point, you've probably been in all the extremes of it, even if it was just for a second. This becomes, calls on real experience, calls on real memory, calls on real stories, calls on real aspects of yourself, and you won't go there without the names that you have to help you remind you of mild as milk. Gee, I don't think of myself that way, but there was this one. And then all of a sudden, you're accessing all that stuff that's in there anyway. It's all wonderful parts of you, but without an ability to name it and pull it, it's just all this wonderful parts of you that you hope randomly come up. This gives you a practical system to go through and pick extremes and work with them. This is where powerful extreme performances are. And every one of you made these lists. Every one of you have them. The reason we put you through all that torture of looking and printing and picking and all that stuff, and those of you who've done the process recently still have memories. The group that came in this morning after doing their homework last night on Saturday night, they were all like, I took so long. You know, everybody's in a thing. But it's because you're spending 3 hours on stuff that's an investment for the rest of your life. And those of you who just clip them and put them in your notebook and put it up on the shelf are wastrels. You know, it is meant to be pulled down and used whenever you want to use it. And especially when you're asked to do something that's outside, you know, the normal limits of what we do, an extreme performance. It also allows you to, I think, bring in some edges to those auditions that are pretty straight ahead. You know, this is pretty normal. It's, you know, there's nothing extreme about this character. But boy, wouldn't it be fun in rehearsal to take it to a lot of the extremes and play with them and then come back to the moderate, because then my moderate reading might have a few flares here and there that are uniquely original and that cause people to go, I don't know where she came up with that reading, but I will never forget that. I can tell you from my casting experience that what you need to remember about getting cast is that people don't get the chance to appreciate how good you are in a callback because everybody's good. You know, you don't stand out like you might in an original audition, because in the original audition, they're seeing a lot of people. They're trying to find out who they want to call back. And if you stand out, it means, you know, you're on the callback list. But when you're there at the callback with other people who stood out, now all of a sudden the director and the producer and the writer, the people that are going to make the decisions, the network, they didn't see all the people that weren't as interesting. They're just seeing the 4 or 5 who were interesting. So now all of a sudden that's the standard they're working with. You don't seem nearly so inspired because everybody in the callback is inspired. So now all of a sudden, what are you going to do to be distinct in that situation because everybody's good. It's no longer about how good you are. How good you are may have gotten you the callback, but it's not getting you the role. What's going to get you the role is some other little thing, and having been through a lot of callbacks, especially in my television casting life, I can tell you that they didn't go, oh, that one was a better actor than the other four. That rarely happened because I considered it my job to bring them all really good actors. So they usually would be all good. So that wasn't the thing, oh, that one's a really good actor, the West weren't. It always had to do with, how did she do that thing with the goodbye, I'll see you later line? That was, where did that come from? Those were the people who got cast every time. Not the best actor, because they were all pretty good actors. There wasn't that. That wasn't the test in the actual casting. The test in the actual casting was, that was interesting. You know? I bet she'd be fun to work with. Where did that come from? Now, in most of those situations, because those folks didn't have a system to get to what's interesting about themselves, it was random, good luck, they happened to put a spin online, it happened. And they might not be able to duplicate it. You, however, have a system that allows you to pull this stuff from you. You can always duplicate you. It's your history, your memories, your background. It's not made up or invented. It's pulled from you. So now you have a bunch of word cues, a system to get you to the intricacies of you. In this case, what we're talking about tonight, to get you to the extremes of you. But those lists, your neighborhood lists, and the resulting intriguing lists are a system that you, I hope, are using every time you prepare a piece, every time you get a script, every time you're going into scene study class and you're wanting to personalize your performance as well as do all the other things that the scene demands, all the technical things, but you also want to be giving as rich a personal performance. I hope you're using this stuff because it's in your notebook, you printed it already, you put in the hours that it took to do it, which is a small investment if it pays off for years, but the 3, 4, 5 hours you spent on I Never Stop Hearing about how hard I made it, you know, that was a big investment. Keep using it. Keep allowing it to pay off. Everybody get the point?
Yes.
Everybody can go and pull out their intriguing ones? Okay, good. And you can print them and reprint them and Xerox them and highlight them. You know, you can go through and highlight the extremes. You can go through and highlight all the kind-hearted versions in each neighbor. Whatever you want that you need to work on, just to stir up. It is adjustable to your needs. Because it's a lot of material that all has a relationship to you, your history, and your background. Okay? Good. What I'd like to do now is answer any questions you have about this or about other things. I'm also at this point eager to hear stories from you that are those little success stories that somehow you all feel like you are embarrassed to share in here, and yet we love hearing how you've applied this stuff in life and gotten a part or gotten a representative or gotten through 2 weeks of hard times or whatever may have happened. Bill, question?
I went to work with a still photographer who offered me free headshots because I got him connected with Flaunt. Anyway, he's got great equipment and all this stuff, and I came down there with my essence statements, all of them, not just the main 7. And I kept pulling it out every so often, and I did it turn away, and then come back to camera with this whole other world going on in my head. And he goes, "What are you doing? That is fantastic. You do something different every time." And I said, "Well, it's easy. I took this class from Tampa, blah, blah, blah," so I gave him the whole, sales pitch. And he goes, "Can I have those?" I was like, "You can, but they're very personal.
Yeah.
And it's going to work for me. There might be 1 or 2 other people that works for too." And apparently he has tried it and had some success. He was using mine. But he was very
Well, it will because it gives you a point of view. Even better if it gives you a personal point of view that you've got some history. Yeah, they are. But I mean, anytime you get specific, yeah, that's great.
So I'm trying to encourage him to come here and take the class because it'll give him a clue about how to address his clients as well as...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hear that from the photographers. I mean, I have a lot of photographers who are photographers and come here and participate just because they work with our actors, or they are actors who also photograph.